Once the most powerful man in the world, known as Marcus Aurelius, tried to live virtuously, following historical principles. Unlike many Roman emperors, he did not indulge in the many pleasures to which they had access, such as getting drunk on wine and watching sadistic games at the Colosseum. Marcus Aurelius wanted to fulfill the task that fortune had given him, which was to serve humanity. So he cared deeply about fulfilling his purpose, but to do that, he needed to care less about things that didn't deserve to be valued, nor did he know they were valued, and we can say that there are many things. One of the essential concepts of Stoicism is the schism between things we control and things we do not control, as explained in the Epictetus Manual. Most, if not all things, besides our own actions, are not under our control. This means that we must renounce the world, not necessarily, but the Stoics believed that we must be realistic about our limited influence on these things. We would create an unnecessary burden for ourselves if we did not. When life hurts, it often means that we care about things we have no control over, and in doing so, we allow them to control us and play with us like puppets. So we blame puppeteers for manipulating our strings when we actually allow them to do that. But if we stop caring about them, they'll lose power over us, and we'll be fine. For Marcus Aurelius, not being disturbed by things beyond his control allowed him to face the many responsibilities and challenges he faced as emperor, and focused on the task he believed was given by the gods. For Epictetus, this meant freedom. For other people, not being affected by external forces could be a way to focus on goals that really matter, and for others, simply a way to a happy, carefree life. When life hurts, what things should we stop taking care of, and how do we do that? This video is a free exploration and interpretation of the philosophy of Marcus Aurelius on how to care less about things that are not worth being valued in his meditations. Marcus Aurelius repeatedly differentiates between present, past, and future. In each category, the ancient Roman emperor has valuable things to say about how much we care about them, or in wrong ways, or wrong things. For clarity and structure, starting with the future, as Seneca has already stated, we suffer more in our imagination than in the reality of our lives. This implies that our thoughts about the future are the source of our suffering. When it comes to the future, our imagination is often out of control, inventing numerous scenarios of what could happen, but it will probably never happen. In advance, we think of ways to deal with possible outcomes, while we tremble at the idea of not knowing how the future will be or how things will happen in our lives. In some cases, what happens is what we anticipate, but in many other cases, fate surprises us, overloading us with events that we could not have predicted, whether better or worse. For example, we could have spent years preparing for a well-deserved retirement that didn't happen. Before the first day of our golden years, a diagnosis of a deadly cancer that gives us only a few months of life. The possibility of such events takes a lot to worry continuously. The best can happen, but also the worst. And if the Third World War happens, and if I lose all my money, such adverse outcomes are possible. But should we worry in advance as we do every day? But as long as they are not happening in the present, we cannot deal with them, for these events are simply not happening. They only exist in our thoughts. The future only bothers us because we think about it, because it does not exist outside our mind. And if you are, as I have spoken, with this deadly cancer, what prevents you from living today and enjoying every second of your precious life? Stand up. Hold your head up regardless of what you're going through in your life, whether it's something minimal or something extremely large. Put on your best clothes, your best sneakers, and go live moments that will be remembered by yourself after death. Marcus Aurelius wrote that it is not the weight of the future that presses on us, but that of the present alone. It is not the future that hurts us, but how we deal with it in the present. The misery of the future happens in the present, and ironically, it is not the future unfolding in the present, because when we find it is already present. When we care too much about future events, life eventually begins to hurt, for we suffer them in our imagination, letting them dictate our present. So what did Marcus Aurelius say about worrying too much about the future? First, let us consider the following quote. Never let the future disturb you. You will face it, if necessary, with the same weapons of reason as today, the air not against the present. He pointed out that if you could deal with the present, you could also deal with the future. He told himself not to imagine everything that could happen that was terrible, but without dealing with the situation that is now living in the present. When you focused on the present, you realized that you could handle it, and if that was the case, why wouldn't you be able to handle what's yet to come? This attitude resembles the idea of fati love. Love is destiny, but fortified with the confidence that we are able to go through it. Sapastur. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself of how existence passes quickly and disappears into infinity, beyond our reach. The past, as well as the future, is an area in which we cannot operate. What's gone, gone, and unless we invent a time machine, we can't change anything about it. Marcus Aurelius said, "Remember that man lives only in the present. In this fleeting instant, the rest of his life is past and gone, or not yet revealed. Short, therefore, is man's life, and narrow is the corner of the earth in which he dwells." Despite the narrowness of our lives, which only occurs in the present moment, we are often excessively busy with those areas that are out of the present and that cannot be accessed, which are the future and the past. Marcus Aurelius said that the past means nothing and is indifferent in the present. It is not that events that have happened in the past do not influence the present, or that we cannot learn from past events. It is only that we cannot work with the past, for it is beyond our reach. Often our memories of the past are scrambled, and the ways to check what exactly happened are limited. We rely on memories of personal perspectives and different points of view, so the past is not only out of reach, our memory of it is also very likely inaccurate. However, we continue to care about past events, often repeating them in our minds, reliving the pain they have caused us. Some believe that by thinking about the past, we can have some control over it. But this is an illusion. The past is gone. All we try to control is our thoughts about something that has gone and will never come back. I wish I could have done it differently. Many people say, but they wish for the impossible. Nothing can be gained from these thoughts because they evoke desires that we can never fulfill. Instead of focusing on past events themselves, Marcus Aurelius focused on his reaction to them. We can't control past events. Most likely, we also could not when they occurred in the present, but we can control how we position ourselves in relation to these events. Initially, we can consider the past as a misfortune. We may have had a difficult childhood or experiences of ending friendships or failed business ventures. But according to Marcus Aurelius, the nature of these events is not so important. What matters is how we deal with them. He stated, "It is misfortune that this has happened. It is not fortuitous that it has happened. And I have stood and stood unharmed by it, neither shattered by the present nor frightened by the future. This could have happened to anyone, but not everyone could have remained unharmed by this. Why treat the former as misfortune and not the latter as fortune? Can you really call misfortune something that does not violate human nature? Or do you think something that is not against the will of nature can violate it? But do you know what her will is? What has happened prevents you from acting with justice, generosity, self-control, sanity, prudence, honesty, humility, frankness, and all the other qualities that allow a person's nature to be realized." Interestingly, Marcus Aurelius does not discard the value of the past completely. He believes that by observing its rhythm, how things come and go, repeating themselves, allows us to extrapolate the future. The present. Marcus Aurelius often mentions that the present moment is all we have. It is the narrow field to which we have access. From the present, we can look at the infinite abyss of the past and the impenetrable darkness of the future. Marcus Aurelius encouraged to focus on what was in his control, the moment now. But even when we abandon the past and minimize our worries about the future, we can still care a lot about things that don't deserve concern, the things that are happening right now. We are often dissatisfied with the way life unfolds in the moment, and when things don't happen as we wish, we tend to get angry, sad, or depressed. But, according to Marcus Aurelius, being emotionally disturbed by what the present brings us is useless. How the world around us unfolds is not in our hands, but how we react to it is. However, we tend to be disturbed because we do not like what is happening, or because what we want to happen does not happen. Marcus Aurelius said that we should not fight against what we are forced to do. He compared people fighting the present to pigs kicking and screaming when sacrificed. It's no use, because we can't avoid or know what the future has in store for us. We cannot prevent people from wanting to fight in wars. We cannot prevent natural disasters from happening. We cannot prevent them from aging. Similarly, we cannot force the world to meet our desires. We have no guarantee that the people we are attracted to also feel attracted to us. Nor are we sure that all human beings have the same opportunities in life. This is simply not possible. We are angry because we do not have what we want, and sad because we are faced with what we do not like. And so the present moment becomes a torture chamber in which we suffer at the mercy of the future. Or conversely, we are so delighted with the present moment that we cling to it, fearing to lose what we have. Then again, we allow the future to control us. But with our total involvement in everything around us, fleeting and invariable, we often fail to see what is really under our control: our choices, our actions, and our opinions. Marcus Aurelius saw the law of nature as our master. If we run away from it or feel sadness or anger about it, we are just deserters and fugitives. We must accept the ways of nature, embrace them, and focus on dealing with them, rather than wasting our energy being disgusted or attached to our circumstances. One way to accept the present, as he wrote in the 7th book of his Meditations, is to argue that we should focus on what we have, not what is lacking, but with caution. Treat what you don't have as non-existent. Look at what you have, the things you value most, and think how much you would want them if you didn't have them. But be careful. Do not feel so satisfied that you begin to overestimate them to the point of getting upset about losing them. However, accepting the circumstances can be difficult, especially when we face significant difficulties and life gives us lemons repeatedly. We ask ourselves, can't we have a rest? But for Marcus Aurelius, adversity and life problems are not an excuse to behave like pigs. He argues that it is an opportunity to practice virtue, or in other words, to apply Stoic philosophy in our lives. The art of living is not about how incredible and fortuitous our external circumstances are, for they are fickle, fickle and not ours. It's about how we face the events we encounter, and that's what we should care about. Hold on. Do your best to live today. Live your life the best way you can, regardless of your physical, emotional, financial, or any other situation. Try to start the change by something that is within your reach. Just start. Do not look to others. Do not look to the future. Do not look to the past. See what is before you and just start. I hope that you can achieve the positive results that you want so much for your life. Remember that your motivation may end at some point, but persist and be constant in everything you do. Thank you for watching the video so far. Don't forget to enjoy the video and subscribe to the channel if that content was rewarding for your life. I'll leave 2 videos here that you might be interested in watching too. Until next time.